Greetings, the tutorial in Mario Sunshine is rather fantastic. Not perfect, but pretty close. Starting with the airstrip, where for a little bit you can run around without the flood pack. But after the video instructions, we get to the Koopa Piranha mini boss. We get to learn about the basics of boss fighting, dodging and mainly how to eliminate bosses. And after eliminating him, you get more time in the airstrip where you can experiment with FLUDD until going to the second part of the tutorial, Delfino Plaza. Also, after this part, most of the footage was done after Bowser because I wanted to have the game be bright and not dark. But at the start, you have access to two stages, Bianco Hills and Piranha Village. Starting you off with, access to the last main stage. You have to parkour just a wee bit with a well-placed triple jump. And there is probably some other speedrun method, but we're not speedrunners here. Allowing the player to access a late game stage by showing capability is great, and it gives the player, options at the start. But besides the allowance of choice at quite literally the start, basically the start, we also have Delfino missions at the start, and you have access to quite a few, some requiring little tricks, but the trickless ones are the ones we'll start with, being the slide, which is pretty fun. Not much in teaching, anything other than staying on the ground is kinda lame and being in the air is kinda tubular. But getting there does require minimal use of the flood pack, which for a new player, getting basic mechanics of hovering in a safe environment where the only punishment is time and not death or a lot of time or HP, like in later stages, is essential for a progression curve that wants to ease players with a challenge that's progressively getting harder, which the other shines in Delfino Plaza do. The next shine that's pretty good for the exploration side is the sand one on the beach, which may seem bullshit, and you're correct, but for a new player who's learning that FLUDD can shoot while walking, especially if they did the Shadow Mario chase, which would probably accidentally hit something while spraying, as it's sorta easy but also hard to nail spray walking or I just suck, would accidentally hit it and uncover it. And it'll show that certain things are unlocked by spraying water in conspicuous areas around the game's worlds. Another good shine for the tutorial is the Radio Tower Bell, which is part of one of two bell shines, which is pretty visible from the start, and a new player would see it and find a way to get up there to the radio tower, which is pretty easy, just having to jump off the top of the roof and hover. Very simple, and spray the bell, but it doesn't spawn next to you. As a matter of fact, it spawns technically far away from you, and you have to explore a little bit to reach it by going into a specific sewer not too far away, finding a way through it, showing that exploration is kinda lit. And these early shines are an early example of what some of the blue coins and what the secret shines will be, having you to do a wee bit of exploration. Last thing before we get into why the tutorial is great for players who have a bit more experience in their controllers, aka who have already bet the game like once or twice, is the blue coins and the sewer system, which are interlinked because most blue coins are in the sewers. And just like blue coins, the sewers are out of the way. And to go into them, players, need to make the choice that they'll go into them. And they never need to use them, like, the blue coins, which are out of the way. And players, by no means, are forced to collect them, unless they want to. 100%. Don't. And similar thing with the fruit piantas. We have to go out of way to do something for a non-essential but helpful reward. Also, carrying fruit has a funny effect of disabling your FLUDD pack, and getting used to having your FLUDD pack not be there is sort of important for the secret stages. Now, onto the part on why the tutorial is also good for intermediate players, aka people who have played the game like once or twice. Bianco Hills, the slide, and the Sunshine aren't the only shines available at the start, and there are 4 others. Piranha Village, not really a shine, but I'm counting it as in the same vein as Bianco Hills. 100 coins, Delfino Plaza, the Gold Bird, Tall Grass minigame, and the Pachinko machine. Starting with the easiest one, and the one that you could argue could be for a new player section. but I'll let it slide here because it's rather far and disconnected from the main part. But yeah, the player will quickly learn after a few shines that spraying birds will reward you with goodies. Green will give coins, blue will give blue coins, and gold ones will give shines. Hence why it's sorta, it's here because of its remoteness. But now, onto the ones that require tricks, starting with the pachinko machine, which can be accessed early by jumping, activating FLUDD, then ground pounding by the trigger to enter and access this stage. You need to have a pretty good control of the controls, and it doesn't help that pachinko machine is a hard stage. So basically, the only people who are doing this early are basically no one, because this is the pachinko machine and it has very funky controls. So you'd only do this if you want to do the shine early. The next two have you doing triple jumps to barely make it to the trees, to the tall grass minigame, or the shine gate to Pianta Village. Well, they seem simple on paper. You do have to jump on pretty small things like the wall to access the tall grass minigame, or the small ramp that if jumped on wrong will have you slide down. Oh yeah, and you do this to access Pianta Village. And the final one, probably the hardest shine when doing it before the intended way. 100 coins Delfino Plaza. Now the hardest part isn't getting the 100 coins, but the hardest part is getting to the platform it's on, requiring you to jump in the small sewer area, spin as soon as you leave as it reduces your falling speed. Then you need to use the FLUDD pack at the correct time, and if done at a certain time, you have to dive to land on the platform, or if you do the FLUDD pack at a different time, you can grab the platform. This is really hard, but it is extremely satisfying to do, and I recommend you try this if you haven't. And now, Sunshine's tutorial doesn't end when you go to Pianta Village or Bianco Hills. Just because if you're a new player, it doesn't end just as soon as you decide to finish the few shines in Delfino Plaza and then just moving on to the other stages, or never doing them because you didn't care to, or just because you didn't know about it. But this does go on through basically all the times when you're unlocking stuff throughout the game, like the nozzles and Yoshi. When you unlock the turbo nozzle, you quickly learn smashing your face into gates breaks them, and you get a shine and a blue coin. Where you get the blue coin is sort of blocked by pillars. Then, by the cops, you get to use the turbo nozzle in a minigame, well, sort of dedicated to it, but you don't need to use it, as it is possible with the hover nozzle, but you're intended to use the turbo nozzle, so shush. And you are given a minigame to master or just get better at it, but a bit less with the rocket nozzle, as there's no real mission or minigame in Delfino Plaza, and there's only 3 shines: the Bell, Gelato Beach Tower, and the Shine Gate, and they're all basically the same besides the Gelato Beach Tower where you ground pound instead of just shoot yourself up after cleaning something. Similar thing with Yoshi, where you learn what he does by opening one of the worst levels in this game, Serena Beach. And then, you know that you can access the blue coins that are trapped behind the fruit goo. But, why do I consider Delfino Plaza the tutorial, and also by extension, the airstrip, and not like Bianco Hills? Well, it's because that's a different stage, and Delfino Plaza is extremely expansive that a new player could treat it as a tutorial and a stage. But that's my opinion, as most if not all Mario games are pretty dubious on when their tutorials end. So this is guesswork mostly, and just trying to figure out the point in the game where the game tries to just ease into actual gameplay and not just, well, and trying to teach you things subtly and just ease into the gameplay. But yeah, other than Delfino Plaza just being a very good tutorial, it is also just a very good stage. I just love the layout, just jumping around, messing around. The mission's also pretty fun, besides, well, Pachinko Machine and mostly the Lily Pad minigame. But yeah, other than that, Delfino Plaza is just also a fantastic stage, along with it being a fantastic tutorial. And in my opinion, Delfino Plaza is the best stage in Sunshine. But anyways, if you agree with what I said about the tutorial, then consider liking and subscribing, and if not, tell me why in the comments, and I'll see y'all later.